What is going on, everybody? Welcome into Garage Life RC. I am Tyson with Garage Life RC, and today we got to take out the Sledge for the first run. Now, if you didn't watch my last video was all about a couple things that you had to do to the Sledge before you ran it. Specifically, putting O-rings in the dog bones in the back, otherwise they're going to pop out, most likely because Traxxas didn't do it. I went out, I ran it hard. So let's go take a look at the running video. And then I'm going to come back here and I'm going to give you some thoughts after the first run with the Traxxas Sledge. What is going on, everybody? Tyson here with Garage Life, and sorry about the wind, but I got the Sledge and I got to get it out here and bash it around. I'm going to send it as high as I can, full speed, see how this thing holds up in comparison, A, for itself, and B, to my other vehicles. Now, I did do two things to this truck before I came out here to run it. So if you haven't seen my last video, make sure you go check it out, because I think it's got two important things in there that you need to do before you run your Sledge, because they could be catastrophic. So check out my latest video. It's called Traxxas Sledge PSA, Do This Before You Drive. Check that out. But I'm going to strap this camera up on my head, and we're going to get the Sledge out here on 6S for its main voyage. Nothing, it's all stock other than the batteries. I mean, they're not Traxxas batteries. So it's all stock other than the two things I did. So let's strap in and get ready to go. I tell you, me and these Traxxas ESCs, we don't get along. They just seem hard to turn on. I don't know, the button. I just don't like the button. So we're gonna kind of take it easy here. Let me get my steering. I gotta get my steering dialed in. It feels like it's pulling to the right. So I'm gonna get that tuned. This is the standard TQI radio, but for some reason the trigger feels stiffer than most of them. I don't know if they adjusted springs or anything like that, but you can definitely hear diff slippage. Like, the center diff is slipping. So I'm gonna have to go through probably and increase the... Oh, look at that. Can't do a standing back flip, or almost. So many big rocks out here are pretty blue chassis is not gonna be blue when we're done. Well, there's a good little crash to cartwheel to see, kind of test some of the durability right off the bat. The steering servo seems a little weak for my liking. Oh, holy cow, what'd we break? I think we tore the wing right off of it. Right off with the wing. And this could potentially be why I'm wanting to design a 3D printed wing mount. I'm gonna print one out here today. So, looks like the screw is pulled right through. We'll see, but it looks like they pulled right through. Let's find out. Screws are still in, so we just lost the wing. Pulled right through. All right. We're wingless. It'll just come up and just start going and grab. I mean, it's kind of fun. It's super windy, sorry about the wind. You know, for me, for bashing, I'm definitely gonna have to work on the shocks a little bit. I'd like to see some M2C pistons in here, which I believe, see, like that should have landed just fine. It's just bouncing when it comes down. I believe the Arma M2C pistons will work just fine in here. I don't see why they wouldn't. I know I'm... Oh. Well, if that doesn't break something, not quite getting enough height to spin it around off this jump. Let's go over to the bigger jump. Let's go test that one out, shall we? Yeah, we shall. And I did put the body clips in the battery mount. I won't have to worry about batteries flying out. We'll just kind of start nice and easy. See how she flies. Getting back here a little bit further. Oh, I think we disconnected a battery. Kicked up a little bit at the end there. Wanted to do a front flip. I didn't want it to. Hit the gas, nose dove right into there. And let's see, I lost all power. I'm assuming it's a battery came unplugged. Yep, that's what it is. Nothing we can't easily fix. I gotta solder up my battery connectors that I like to use, and then I'll go through this thing and see kind of what underneath here, you know, like right here obviously is taking a lot of hit, and it's going into the body right there. So you can see where you're gonna need some support. I guess we wrecked. So we can kind of see where we're gonna need support on the body and just some of this stuff, and some stuff that's gonna need to be done to the diffs. And I want to take the diffs apart anyway. I want to hold them straight up next to Arma. I want to see. See, we got some back end slap. And we unplugged the battery again. This is one of those things that drives me bonkers in RC. And it's not just Traxxas. It's mainly Traxxas. But it happens with my Armas too. And then you throw in these stupid type of plugs like this. But I wanted to get out and run this today without having to solder up some stuff. I'll go home and solder it later, but I wanted to get this thing out here on its main run because we're supposed to get snow tonight. So I want to try to run it before it snows. I can spend tomorrow designing, printing, and fixing some stuff on this thing. I don't know if I'm gonna leave it stock or if I'm gonna really mod it up a whole ton. What do you guys think? Put that down in the comments below. Should I leave this thing stock and run it stock for a while, or should I throw 8S in here? And if you think this is a pretty good bash video so far, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing. Helps out the channel a whole ton. Doing a lot of cool things on the channel here. Here we go. So my max V2 will fly that far. So see if I can, this gravel is so loose. You see if I can keep it steady enough to hit full trigger. See, it lands and then not sucking up the jumps very well, because then it just bounces and pops right over. So far, I mean, it does remind me of the Revo a lot, but at the same time it doesn't. It kind of reminds me of it, but also a completely different feel at the same time. It's definitely a lot lower center of gravity than the Revo. I compared them side by side, and the chassis is way lower center of gravity than the Revo. Now, after putting this body on and off, feels like 100 times out here already, I definitely do like this body design way better. Hasn't flown off, and it's easier to get on and off than the other clipless design. So I already see one mod I'm gonna have to address, and that's the wing. We need flexible wing mounts so our wings don't fly off. That was a nice jump. I think it's just gonna need the good old Garage Life tune. I haven't been a fan of the sledgehammers really either. I wasn't a fan of them on the Max. So I don't know, maybe I just don't like the way they drive. Unhook the battery again. So what do you guys think so far of this thing, of what you've seen in this video, or if you have one, what you experienced? I think I'm going to take this thing out now. Got a good feel for it. I think I'm going to take it home, solder up the right connectors on it so I don't have this problem, because realistically, other than the wing popping off, but the screws are still in there. They're still there. It just pulled out. The force of hitting like it did pulled them right through. And they got the double washer mount, but I don't know that it worked that well. Might need a metal one in there, but then that might transfer to something else. What else is going to break if you do that? So there you have it. There's the first run that I had with the Traxxas Sledge. So a couple of things first of all. A couple of things that come to my mind first of all. The truck is pretty tough. Pretty tough. Some of the hits that it had, some of the weird wrecks that it had, it held up to very well. So I still believe in venting my tires the way that I do. And at the very beginning of the video, one of the first things that we saw was my wing came off. So you're kind of wondering, yeah, the truck does look different. And what happened, the screws are still completely in the mount just fine. They didn't pull out of the mount or anything. It just came down and it hit just right to pop the wing actually off out of the screw holes. Now, it did ruin the washer that holds this on, but it is what it is, right? I mean, nothing really broke. It just popped it up, and now I think there's two fixes that could, one of two ways to actually fix this. One is bigger headed screws or steel washers. There was a plastic washer piece in the back that goes over the wing, and the screws pulled through it. So maybe we need steel or aluminum back there, something a little bit stronger, which is one solution. The other solution would be, in my opinion, probably the better one. Actually, they're both probably good, but the better one would be a 3D printed TPU wing mount. So I'm in the process of printing one of those. I'm going to try it out to see if that's better. I would say that there wasn't any give when it hit, and so put all the pressure on the wing and popped it right off. Other than that, nothing broke. I do think for my particular style, the suspension needs to be tuned. It was awfully bouncy when it would come off the jumps. You could see it come down and bounce and then roll. I am a bad driver, but some of those landings were perfect landings, and it would bounce and roll. And that's not something that I'm necessarily looking for in a race truggy or a basher. And it's kind of hard to say what it's marketed towards other than just a truggy. So I'm going to say for me, it's a bashing truggy. Now, I've never been a big fan of sledgehammers from day one. I still don't like them that much. I think they don't grip very well for me in where I drive. They seem a little bit big on this truck. That's just my opinion. Now, the tie rods, like the steering links, the A-arms, all super solid. Like, these are some of the biggest ones I've seen, and it's freaking crazy. The shock body, the shock mount protectors on the top, I think that's awesome. It's a great idea. They probably will need a little bit of padding, because I can see that they're wearing a little bit here, or where they've hit the body and scraped the paint, so I'd like a little bit of padding. I'm going to put a little bit of padding or TPU or something in there to protect, just to save a little bit of impact. And then the steering servo is a little bit slow, in my opinion. I'm going to tighten up the servo saver and see if that has anything to do with it, but I think it just is going to benefit from a faster servo. Now, I don't think it's anything that to be, as somebody picks up this truck and uses it, I don't think they're going to be super duper noticeable. Somebody that's been in the hobby for a long time and dealt with faster servos, and that's what you're used to, you're definitely going to notice it. I did make mention during the video that I think the trigger got a little bit stiffer on TQI radio. Just, I don't know, something that popped in my head. It felt tight. And I'm not against it or for it. It just felt different to me. The shocks seem pretty decent on here. Are they max shocks? They're similar, but they're different lengths. The front shocks are shorter than the rear shocks in a normal truggy fashion. So that's, in my opinion, going to benefit. What I'm going to do is some M2C shock pistons to fit in here, probably some aluminum caps if I can get them to fit. Traxxas is always weird with their threads to where you can't just take a normal shock cap, even though they're the same size, and thread them on. It's just weird. It just doesn't work. Other than that, I mean, it was fun. It drives good. It handles good. I like the new setup and the new style. I didn't think I was going to like the mud guards. I think they look stupid. Just my personal opinion. But they worked. I had mud caked on those things and not behind it. So they did their job. They did what they were supposed to, and it worked. And again, this thing is tough. I don't see any bends or anything like that, and you just watched it drip all over because I just washed it and blew it off a little bit, but didn't get all the water out. I didn't have any issues with tires coming apart or breaking beads or anything like that. They seem glued fine. Again, I did have to go through and put fuel tubing in my dog bones, which is something everybody should do. And then, yeah, I mean, you can see the damage I've done to the chassis. It's all scratched up. It's not going to be blue for very long, so take a picture when you get yours if you already have it, because it's not going to last long. Other than that, the suspension felt good and plush. It's got the normal Traxxas whine to it. When you start driving, you can start hearing the bearings. So I don't know what kind of bearings are in here. I'll have to take them apart and look, but it'll probably benefit at some point from a bearing upgrade. But again, that's all just things that, as RCers, does it drive out of the box? It sure did, and it did well. My biggest gripe is I shouldn't have to take dog bones apart and put something. I mean, it just goes back to somebody that isn't big into the hobby has to go and experience that happening and not know how to fix it because quality control was bad and they didn't do it from the factory like they're supposed to. So not being an RCer goes and picks up your first truck, and that happens after running once or twice. It's a bad experience, right? And so to me, that's just a quality control aspect. That part was supposed to be there. It's not there. So I don't know what's happening to quality control, but all the braces look good. The chassis looks good. So I mean, I'm impressed. I'm trying to figure out whether or not I want to garage life this truck and change it. I do have different colored A-arms and inserts, and so I can modify it a little bit to my liking. I'm going to change the plugs for sure because those popped off a lot, and that's frustrating. That's one of the things I can't stand is having to pull the body off, replug in the batteries to keep going. And then, you know, I don't say that you necessarily have to do this before you run, but don't forget to adjust your servos and stuff. Mine was way off out of the box. It was pulling way to the right. I had turned the steering trim on the radio all the way to the left, basically, just to get it to drive straight. So I just need to readjust the servo horn on the servo and then adjust my end stops because you should always be doing that anyway. Other than that, I'm going to take a diff apart and I'm going to compare it and see if it's really that much bigger than an Arma one. Just because I think that's something I want to do. And other than that, I mean, that's what I got to say about my first run. If you have one, comment down below. How's your first run been? Or what did you guys see? What do you think from my first run? Leave me a comment, a subscribe, a thumbs up if you found this video useful. Don't forget to put fuel line or a washer or a spacer of some sort in your dog bones. And again, thank you for being the best part of Garage Life RC. Be on the lookout for stuff coming to the shop on GarageLifeRC.com. And until I talk to you guys again soon, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for being you. Thank you for helping the channel grow. And we'll see ya.